Now, let's see. One of the favorite things I think on the list that people asked for when we discussed what recipes we were going to do this year was no bake cookies. It's in your folder, no bake cookies. In my family, I've known these for years and years. I don't even going to tell you how long. But in my family, these are called tummy ticklers. They always have been, always will be. Who knows why? I'm not sure who coined that phrase, but they're called tummy ticklers. But any way you look at it, no-bake cookies are pretty awesome. I love that the ingredients are pretty simple, and it's something you can keep on hand and you can make whenever the urge hits you. All you need is sugar, 2 cups. You need 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder, half a cup of milk. I use whole milk for this, but I've used 2%. It works just fine. You need a half cup of butter, which is easy to measure because it's 1 stick. And then you need 3 cups of quick oats. That's what I've got here ready. And in the directions I mentioned that you need to have your vanilla, oats, and peanut butter ready, because at the end you kind of throw them in real quick and then you start scooping out your cookies. So have that ready. I've got vanilla in a cup ready to go so I can put it in quickly. Vanilla might look like this when you buy it. It might look like this when you buy it. Imitation vanilla is fine. I was looking the other day in the store for real vanilla extract, and I was so blown away by the price. I was real happy that I have the imitation. I couldn't believe the price. And then peanut butter. I use creamy. That's what's traditional for these cookies. You can use crunchy. We've done that before at my house. I like creamy better. So I've got it ready to go in this cup, and I also have this to scrape it out with quickly. So in the pan, I have all these ingredients already melted together and stirred together. That's what that looks like. So now we're going to turn the heat up, and I'm going to start stirring till it comes to a boil. And you kind of have to pretty much continually stir this, and it happens kind of quickly. And then you boil it. Once it's boiling and you can't stir the boiling down to make it stop, you go 1 minute. I recommend that you have something to time with. It really makes it easiest. You can use your cell phone, your watch if it has that feature. I have a timer on the front panel of my stove, so it's pretty quick and easy for me. But in the past, I've used all kinds of ways to do it, including having one of my kids down there and stand there and count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, whatever it takes. Some recipes I've seen for this will tell you to boil longer. I found that often what happens is that overcooks it and makes it very sugary and grainy, which is not really what you want. But I also have to admit that any mistake we ever made making these cookies, they got eaten anyway. Nobody cared. If they didn't set up properly, we ate them with a spoon. So if they were sugary, we just laughed about it and ate them anyway. Now, when I was growing up and making these, the traditional way to put them out on a paper to make cookies was waxed paper. And I found in the last several years that wax paper is a little bit harder to find. But the other thing about wax paper is you have to be careful. You need something under the wax paper because the heat from the cookie will transfer the wax from the bottom side of the paper onto whatever is underneath it. Now, for a long time, I used newspaper for my kids. Put newspaper down when they were making these cookies and wax paper on top. That worked, especially after my daughter years ago put wax paper out on an old farm table that we had in our kitchen at the time. And that farm table still has, it's not in the kitchen anymore, but it has circles of wax spots all across the top where she put wax paper on the table, not thinking, and made cookies, and the wax transferred. So we learned. So now let's see, we're about to a boil. It's starting to boil, so I'll tell you real quick. What I have over here is a dish towel on my counter. I have parchment paper on an old cookie sheet. Parchment paper works great. I found these parchment cookie sheets that are fabulous. These are, it's like less than $3 a box last time I bought them. And they have 22 pre-cut sheets. Even has a grill on it, like for you to make cookies. All right, we're at that good boil now. So I'm going to hit the timer for 1 minute. Stir this a little bit while it boils for 1 minute. So the parchment paper works great because there's no wax to transfer. And most of the modern recipes of this same cookie is what you'll see is the parchment paper suggestion. Just to let you know. We've also used freezer paper before. If that's something you have in your house because you wrap meat and stuff, it's waxed on one side. So the wax side up to put the cookies on it works fine too. I don't think there's any bad way to do this actually, unless you make wax circles on your table. That was pretty funny that day. I was kind of mad for a second and realized that my daughter just had no idea it was going to do that. And we just kind of laughed it off. It was, what are you going to do? But we learned that we would never put wax paper down on a bare surface again. That's for sure. All right, so we're almost ready. Here we go. Okay, so you turn off the fire. Scoot the pan over a little ways off the burner. In my case, I've got a gas stove. All I have to do is scoot it over. If you have an electric stove, you may want to, remove it onto something else depending on your burners. I put the vanilla in first. And the vanilla has a tiny bit of alcohol in it, so it kind of bubbles in there. It's pretty funny. My kids, when they were little, thought that was awesome. Then I put in the peanut butter because before I do the oats, because if you do that, you get a chance to stir the peanut butter into this hot chocolate mixture and blend it in really well. Now, a lot of people tell me that they prefer the pure peanut butter version of no bakes. I can't imagine having no bakes without chocolate, but that's just me. But you could leave the cocoa out of this recipe and probably have a perfectly great peanut butter cookie. I know there's also recipes online all over the place for peanut butter no bakes. Then they're kind of a tan color, and I've eaten them, they're delicious, but to me no bake is chocolate. So you can see some little streaks maybe in there of the peanut butter, but we got it pretty well. So you hurriedly put in all your oats because you want to mix them in and coat them all with that peanut butter and chocolate mixture. At first it's pretty easy to stir, and as you get it mixed in, it gets a little bit harder to stir. But you want to try to get it mixed as well as you can quickly, so that pretty much you're not seeing any naked oats left in there. Once you do that, you're ready to roll. That's it. I mean, that is it. That's all it takes to make these cookies. So I'll put this up here so you can see. I have my parchment paper here. I'm using a regular tablespoon like you would eat soup with. And you can use a bigger spoon if you want. And you just put the cookies and plop globs on the paper. And that's all it is. If you're in a hurry to eat your cookies, which happens a lot at my house with my granddaughter especially, you can put the tray or a smaller tray of these in the refrigerator and cool them quickly so you can eat them quickly, but they don't really take that long to cool off and be ready to eat. So that's no-bake cookies, and I'll be back.